Hello, 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 everybody. How is everybody doing on this Friday evening? I am Caron Bailey. I am your independent demonstrator with Stampin Up, your ATX lady, and I am here for another Fun Fold Friday project. You guys, I love the tropics. I'm from the Caribbean, the Virgin Islands to be exact. So I had to have my screensaver background that just reminds me of island living. So I hope you come on into the craft room and join me on the tropical beach right here as we have a little bit of fun in the craft room tonight. It is Fun Fold Friday today, you guys. And so we are going to present what I'm calling the double point fun fold card. There's two versions of this card that I'm gonna play with tonight. The instructions and the measurements that I gave you kind of combine the two. So I'm gonna separate the two for this evening so that we can work with the two versions. Version one that I'm gonna work with, I got from fellow Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, Patty Dolan. And version number two that we're going to work with is from my upline, Connie Stewart. So without further ado, as always, you guys, any of the projects that you see, that you see that I use this evening in this video, if you shop on my online store using this host code, you will be entered to receive a purchase for any orders $50 or more. Also, when this video is posted on YouTube, because I will be posted on both places, YouTube and Facebook, and YouTube and Facebook. And also you'll find it in the projects or events on my online store. So you should be able to find this video as well. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe in all of my social media platforms. All of the products will be used, like I said, is from the Stampin' Up! Catalog or from the online exclusives. And as I mentioned in my Facebook group, I am focusing and working on my featured products for this month are the Wildly Flowering Suite. So that is the suite that I'm going to be working with today. So on to the first card. All these products, I forgot to say that, the normal disclaimer, right? So the products that I used are purchased with my own funds. They have not been given to me, and they are products that I like. And so using them is from my own personal products. All right, so here we go. What we are going to need is we're going to need some cardstock, and we're going to need a piece that is a quarter panel. That is 4¼ by 5½. We're going to need a piece of basic whites cardstock. Excuse me. And this panel is 4 by 5¼ This is where it differs from the measurements posted online. So this is 4 by 5¼ You're going to need two pieces. That's 3 inches by 4 inches. Two pieces. You're also going to need some additional scrap for making your focal image. You're going to need some of the formatting. And let's get started. So we're going to start first with designing the ends, because this is going to be the inside of our card. So with the wildly flowering sentiment, let me see if I can find it, because I put it somewhere. I'm one of those people that I put things in places, which generally means I hide it from myself, because in my quote unquote effort to clean and organize, I make messes. That's just what I do. All right. So this is going to be, I want it to be like a thinking of you card. And so on the inside, I'm going to use with the wildflower designs, I'm going to use You've Been on My Mind. So let's grab that stamp set out, that particular stamp. You've been on my mind. And this one I'm going to place towards the top of the panel. Okay. Let's just go ahead and put this right here. About halfway, right? And it doesn't really matter because I'm going to pick it up with the block and I'm going to align it again. So as I always heat emboss, I'm going to take that minute with my embossing buddy, grab me some of my VersaFine Clear ink. This is what I use when I'm wanting to heat emboss. Okay. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to make sure my is aligned. I'm going to put it towards the top. Try to center it on both sides. And there we go. Okay. So I'm going to heat emboss that. And I know I have a little scrap piece of the wildly flowering, so I'm going to reach for that one as well as soon as I'm done with this part. Okay. Let our gun heat up. Our heat tool, let's heat that up. And because it's on the inside, I won't double heat emboss it. I won't double heat emboss it. It's on the inside of the card. So I'm going to leave it like that with a single pass with the heat emboss, with the heat tool. All right. So the next thing I want to do is I want to just grab a piece, and I don't know where I just put that. I had a little scrap of the designer series paper remaining after I cut. Let's see if I can find that. Such is my life, you guys. I tell you, when it comes to work, I can be very organized. I can be. Not saying that I am, but I can be. All right, so that's not anywhere around here. So I'm going to, let's just grab, where did that go? All right, so for the inside of the card, I'm just going to eventually put a strip that is 1 inch, or I'm sorry, maybe about a 3/4 of an inch or a 1/2 inch wide on the inside here. I'm still looking for that piece of designer series paper. I don't know why, but I still am. Okay. So instead of wasting time, I'm just going to go trim another piece. And as soon as I trim this, you guys, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to find, I am going to find that piece. So I'm just going to do 1 inch, 3/4, let's just go for a 1/2 inch, a 1/2 inch wide strip. Okay. And then I'm just going to trim this because we know that our piece is 4 by 5 1/4. So I'm going to trim this to about 4 1/4. That way it's easier to trim any excesses rather than to cut it short. That's just another tip as well. Okay. So now that we have this little guy, we're we're going to add some adhesive. And I'm going to use liquid adhesive. You can use whichever method of an adhesive you prefer. I prefer liquid adhesive. And we know this piece of designer series paper is going to go all the way across. And so we're just going to add this strip right onto the cardstock. Make sure it's aligned. Yeah, make sure it's even. Left and right. There we go. Okay. And now that that's on, we can go ahead and trim this off. Okay. All right, so the next element that we want to work with and create is our double points. So let me share with you what our double points will look like, okay? In Patty Dolan's method to create the points, it was 2 pieces that was 3 inches by 4 inches, okay? And what we're going to do is we're going to create an element that looks like this, okay? So let me show you how to create this. So on the 3-inch by 4-inch, you're going to score on the 4-inch Wait, did I do this wrong? Okay, no, I did not. I did. Let me tell you. Okay, so this is what we're going to end up having. So with the 3 inches on the top, you're going to score 1 inch. Is that right? No, this is the 3-inch side, correct? And this is the 4-inch side. So we're going to score on the 3-inch side, make a 1 inch on the 1-inch side. And you're going to burnish that fold. You're going to then open this up and you're going to fold your points in. This is how you're going to create your point by making sure that when you fold this part towards the center, this piece is parallel to the score line. Okay. So, and then you want to make sure that when you make that line, it is just shy from the actual score line because you don't want it to be too much bulk on the score line itself. Okay, then we're just going to burnish that fold and then do the same thing. Now with the other side, you want it to be close to it, but you do not want to overlap at all. Again, trying to avoid bulk. Okay, and so now that we've got our points and everybody's burnished, right? You could trim these off, but it makes no sense to do that. Or it doesn't matter one way or the other. You could trim it off to reduce the bulk. Then we're going to add adhesive to our triangle tips on this side. Again, I'm using liquid adhesive. That is my glue of choice. And then we're just going to burnish this as well. Okay. All right, so now we're going to attach to the inside of this card. And we're just going to add a little bit of adhesive and we're going to add it just to the 1-inch flap that we created. Now for me, liquid adhesive is critical at this point because I need the little extra time to make sure that everything lines up and is even before this actually sets. Then we're just going to give that a little burnish, like so. Turn it over, burnish the back so that the adhesive adheres properly. And then we're going to do the same thing on the other side, but with this panel. Now we're just going to add our adhesive. Make sure everything lines up here. And guys, we have created this point already. Okay. Make sure it's lined up, even, end to end, tip to tip, and adhere. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take our panel and we're going to add it to the front of this card. Well, how is this going to stay down? Well, you guys, we're not done yet. Now is where you get to design your card in any way that you see fit for your focal image. But we have already done the fold. The fold is done. Line this up. There should be an eighth of an inch border all the way around. Perfect. And now we're going to design our panel. I'm going to set this aside. All right. So now we're going to use these dies. Okay, I love dies, right? Let's see. We're going to use both of these dies. We're going to use this one and this one. Okay, now here's when you're measuring. So you're going to want a panel or whatever your focal image is that's going to be large enough that it can cover the point so that you can use it as a lid to open. So if you were able to do this one, it could be, but it'd be really, it wouldn't give you a lot of room, but you could use something as small as this. This would take you to about, say this is a 3-inch. Yeah, so it's 3 inches by maybe 2 7/8. So maybe, so say maybe a 2 by, say by 2 by 3, okay? 2 by 3 is probably the smallest I would go with your focal image. So let's go ahead and trim or design our piece, right? So I'm going to trim it first. Normally I would just die cut. I would just create my panel and then put this around, but I just want to make sure that I have enough. So I am just going to run this through my die cutting machine. And really cut and wash as it is. Here are my plates. Here are my plates. Okay. Die cut our piece. That's going to be our focal image and our outside sentiment. So when we've done this, we kind of just know what real estate we're working with. And I like to, for me personally, I like to know what kind of real estate that I'm working with. And when I say know what kind of real estate I'm working with, I would prefer not to go through all this, me personally, extravagance in designing and coloring only to trim it all off. I don't see the sense and the purpose of that. So I try to make sure that I have a good understanding of what my real estate is, what it looks like, so that I design well within that. All right, so now we have this. And I'm just going to stamp on here. So I'm going to do this. What colors do we have in there? Oh, let's do that. I see the wild wheat. So let me grab one of my brushes, my blending brushes. And I'm going to throw down a little bit of wild wheat on here already. Just a little bit. And I'm going to do it lightly. Now, the key with if you're trying to do light is a very light hand. Because you can always add more. You just can't take it away once you've added it, okay? I do want just a light hint of the wild wheat. Okay. And then I'm going to stamp this full force in wild wheat. All right. Okay. That's exactly what I'm looking for. Okay. And hang right in there with some Wink of Stella. Now, the design for the focal image, that is probably going to be the most detailed part of what we're working with tonight. But our card is basically complete, you guys. 100. I'm gonna add some Wink of Stella on here. I trust everybody had a great week today. Oh, great week. I did. I got some good news. I'm not sharing it because I haven't shared it with everyone. So I won't be sharing my good news, but I did get some good news today. I did. And I'm excited to share it with you when I can. Just going to edge this right here with a gold metallic marker. My marker, my ink seems to be gone out of here. Okay. And then I'm going to mat this on this decorative piece that I'm going to cut out of I'm going to keep everything kind of monochromatic. I'm going to use this again, I think. So let me now cut a piece. And I think this will go right through the mini cut and emboss machine. Gotta love that thing. And just like that, it's going to go right through our machine, okay? And then I'll show you how to attach this at our outer sentiment and finish the card. Version number 1. Now, the second version is very similar, but I think I find it a little bit easier, although this one's not hard. The second version is a little bit more detailed, yet somehow simpler, if that makes any sense whatsoever. All right. Oh, well, I didn't know this did that. Can you tell I have not used this? Huh. So we're going to mat this on here. Well, that's a blip. I really wanted that decorative edge. Oh, I know how I'm going to do it. I do. All right, so let's put this on here. It's my first time using these dies, and I did not realize that it totally cut that border piece out, because that's not what I was looking for. All right, so here we go. I'm going to add this. Oops, it doesn't matter because we can turn it up on the other side. All right. And then I bring in a piece of my silicone craft sheet, because we are going to be doing a little bit of what I call surgery on here. What do you mean you're going to be doing surgery? All right, where's my silicone craft sheet? There we go. All right, so what I am going to do, I'm going to turn this over. And it doesn't really matter which way, because again, it's even all the way around. I'm gonna make sure this is in here. This is in here. And you guys, I keep Scotch tape in my craft room all the time. Okay. And the reason I do that is I'm gonna use the Scotch tape to keep this in line. Just like that. I don't know if that's how everybody else does it, but that's how I'm doing this. And it works well. It's gonna work for me. Okay, look at that. Could you do it with double-sided tape? Yes, you could. Now this right here. And I want to make sure I'm not going too far, just enough to make sure I capture both pieces of cardstock in the alignment. Just messed that piece up, so I'm going to start over. Okay. Use as much or as little as you think it's necessary to adhere the panels. See that, you guys? I'm going to do the same right here because you can see that it gaps open, right? So tip number, I don't know which tip I've given you today, is to make sure to keep some Scotch tape in your craft room. I find that it is a crafter's companion in situations such as these. Now, what am I going to have to do here that I just thought about? This is going to be on the flap, right? So we're going to have to add a piece of cardstock to the back of this to hide that. Okay. And that's easy because we can just die cut another one of those. Okay. All right. So here we've got our piece. And I am going to die cut another piece because why do I need to die cut another piece? So, and here's the reason why, the theory. When I adhere this to this, I'm going to open the card like so. This is not what we want our recipient to see. Okay? So, we are going to die cut another piece. Matter of fact, we can make it a piece of designer series paper. Mm. Oh, I don't like to waste. I don't like to do that. Da-da-da-da. See, that doesn't make any sense. Okay. So we're gonna have to go for it. Let's continue to cut on this side. Because that's what we did already. Grab our plates again. Set this up. Bring in our cut and emboss machine. And then all I'm going to do is I'm going to adhere this panel. Well, I should have cut the other one out. It's okay. And this is usually why when I do, when I start a project that I'm not familiar with, that is the first time I'm doing it, I tend not to use my Stampin' Up! DSP because I do make a lot of mistakes. And then I'm like, oh yeah, I figured that part out. But figuring it out after the fact, just sometimes doesn't give you the same effect, if that makes sense. Okay. So this card is probably going to go to my sister. I'm just saying. All right. So what we do now is now that we have this, we're going to place our focal image right across the front, tip to tip, and we're going to open top ways, right? So we just want adhesive on this portion right up here. Now, the other thing is I'm going to do a sentiment. I want to do a sentiment strip. So I'm going to do another strip. I'm not sure what I want it to say yet. So I'm going to not do that part tonight. I'm just going to do, I'm just going to add the focal image. Okay, so I know we needed some adhesive down here. Probably a little bit there. Let's line this up again. And here we go. I think that's straight. Yeah, just like that. Add a little pressure so it adheres. And guys, our double point flip card, flip fold is complete. Version number 1. Okay. So there we have it. What do you think? Now, the other thing you can do, if you're one of those people, if you have like a little bit of that Velcro, if you want it to stay closed, you can put a little bit of Velcro on each tip, and then it'll just tip that way. Or if you have those smaller magnets, you can, before you add adhesive to the to close this down, you could put that little magnet right here, that one piece, and then you can also add the other side of the magnet in between this layer right here, and so your card will stay closed. Now this is pretty darn closed as it is. Okay. All right, so this is card number 1. It's a fun fold. It's still a double fun fold, but this one is a little bit interesting. I mean, they both are. Let's not lie. They both interesting. All right, let's put this away. And we're going to stay with the wildly flowering sentiment. So you're still going to need a piece. Our base is still going to be that 5.5 by 4 1/4. Now, instead of this single piece of basic white that we used on this card, we're going to create a folding card, a regular normal card, only this panel is 8 by 5 1/4. And you're going to score on the 8-inch side at the 4-inch mark to create a 4 by 5 1/4 folding card, like so. Okay. So now the next thing we want to do is I'm going to grab me another piece of this designer series paper. And this time we just need one. This is going to be a piece that's 3.5 by 3.5. And this is what I mean when I said it was easier. You don't need those two pieces, and you don't need it. You didn't need to do a lot of the folding. So we just need a piece that is 3.5 by 3.5. All right. And all I'm going to do right now is I'm going to take this 3.5-inch panel and I'm going to put it point to point in the tray. Make sure the tips and the points are in the track, the cutting track. And I'm going to cut. And just like that, you guys, we have our 2 pieces of cardstock. That part's a little bit easier to make. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to line the long point up on the, I think it was the 1/2 inch. Let's go with well, you can choose. You can do a 1/4 inch. You can do a 1/2 inch. I'm going to go with a 1/2 inch. Make sure that's lined up. And I'm going to score on that 1/2 inch on both of them. Okay. Line this up on the 1/2 inch. And again, go in with the score blade and score. Okay. I'm going to fold on our burnish our score lines. And do you see how easier it was to create that versus going through the other method? So that's why I said this was probably a little bit simpler to create in that way, but it's a little bit more because it's also creating the inside card. Now, this is going to go on here just like so. So we're going to have to trim off, as you can see, we're going to have to trim off these little flaps. Now, you can do it after you've adhered the card, or you can do it before. Doesn't matter whichever one you're more comfortable with, that's how you would do this, because this is going to end up coming over like so. Okay? That's how that's going to be. All right, so let's get to working on that. And before we do that, so on my front card, I cut a piece that is 3 3/4 by 5. We have that, so we want this to be the point that's showing, the print that's showing, because this will be like that, and it'll be like that. Okay. Okay. So you can decorate here if you'd like. You can leave it blank. I'm going to leave it blank for now. And I'm just going to adhere this to the front panel. Okay. We just added this to the front, making sure it's fairly even all the way across. I'm going to do one of each. So this first one, I'm going to trim ahead of time. Like so. Add the adhesive to the 1/2-inch panel. And don't forget, you're adding this to the back or the outside panel of the 4 by 5¼ card base, okay? Make sure that's lined up. Make sure it's lined up. Okay. And then give it a good burnish. I'm going to do the same thing, but this time I'm going to just, I'm going to try to do it with the flaps on and then trim it after I've added it to see which way might be a little bit easier. Might not be any easier either way, but it might. And so you will have just figured out for yourself which is your preferred method of doing that. Okay. So now, again, I'm just going to adhere this panel. Just like that. Burnish that down. And now I'm going to trim it off. This seems easier to me. And it's easier to me only because I don't have to worry that maybe I've trimmed off too much. Once it's on, and I know exactly where it's done. So this is what our card will look like. Okay. And here it goes again. And then this will be on the outside. It'll be like this. So now all we have to worry about is designing our focal image. And we already know what we're going to do with that. Okay. So guys, that is as simple as you can get for the double point flap cards. Okay. The Wildly Flowering Suite can be found in the, I think it's in the annual catalog. I don't know why I'm thinking I have the information right there because I put it on my labels. Give me just a second and I'll grab that. So this, the Wildflower Designs is in the annual catalog on page 41. It comes with the dies. It comes with a 3D embossing folder, which we did not use at all today, but it also includes that in the suite. Okay. All right. So that part is done, you guys. And then we're going to put a piece of cardstock on the inside of our card to make our notes. So if we do have a designated space to make our inside card. Now this is 4 by 5¼ So if we're going to create our inside panel, that might be 3 3/4 by 5. If you're going to mat that 3 3/4 by 5, then your mat layer would end up being 3 7/8 by 5 1/8. Okay, so let's trim this down to 3 3/4 by 5. All right. Like that. You can also put a panel right here if you, or something right here if you wanted to. So I'm just going to create some sort of a design. I'm not sure yet what I want to finish that, but I just wanted to share with you the two different methods to create the double point flap cards. Okay, so here's version number 1. Very simple. It just involves a 5 1/4, a 5 1/2 by 4 1/4 a card base quarter panel. We need one piece. We needed one piece of basic white. This was 4 by 5 1/4. We needed 2 pieces of designer series paper, and those were 3 inches by 4 inches. And then, of course, whatever you were going to do for your focal image is all of cardstock that you needed for that one. Okay. Now, for this one, which we didn't finish, this one is a little bit more. So I would call this, if I had to, I would say this was my, what is it? My now card. Okay, this is my now card. This would probably be on the mark with my holy cow card. Okay. That's what I would call this, my holy cow card. All right, so the parts needed for this is you need your card base. That is a quarter panel again. That is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. You would need a mini card that is a piece that's 8 inches by 5 1/4, scored at 4 1/4. In this particular instance, I used a piece of designer series paper that was 3 3/4 by 5. I also needed a second print that was one piece that was 3 1/2 squared. So 3 1/2 by 3 1/2. And that's what I used to create this point. So that's it for tonight, you guys. Thanks for joining me. I hope you enjoyed learning if you about the double point fun fold card. If you do have the opportunity to create either version, I really wish you would share them with me, and you can share them on the on my Facebook page in the Craft Room with Caron in the corresponding event page for tonight's projects. You can also find this video on Facebook. You can find it on, you will find it on YouTube. And again, you will find it on my online store under our projects and events. You guys, thanks again for joining me. I am Caron Bailey, your independent demonstrator, the ATX Stampin' Lady, wishing you all a very good evening, and I will see you tomorrow. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.